Soul Mirrors, you have arrived. Relax and discover your greater life experience as we dive into the stories that need to be told. Angelic Oracle Kira Raa leads you on a journey of enlightened perspectives as she weaves together the elements waiting to be revealed and often not seen. Each week, co-hosts reveal their secrets and invite your sharing. A fascinating and dynamic hour that will leave your heart smiling and your soul singing. And of course, Kira Raa's famous mini soul readings. Be sure to call in. Ready to be amazed? Here is Angelic Oracle Kira Raa.
Namaste, beloved ones, and welcome to Soul Mirrors. You know, I want to just first and foremost say thank you to all of you that tuned in to the premiere of Soul Mirrors Be Amazed last week. We are truly, sincerely honored. And I just want to also take a moment with my hand on my heart to say thank you. Thank you to all of you that are saying yes to who you truly are, because it is due to this rise of the lineage holders that we are at the moment, that when we share our stories of mastery, every story assists us to remember the collective story, which is assisting ourselves, right, to wake up even faster. And that is the moment. And as we have already discovered during our first lineage holder journey this past Tuesday, oh my goodness, thank you. And please, you can still join us, send us an email, go to our website. But what we are doing is learning how to exist outside of time while we expand through our connection to each other. See, that's that ultimate release, that ultimate relaxation to come together heart to heart, master to master. So as you are here this evening, and thank you for being here this evening, know that we are outside of the experience of the third dimensional, let's just use the word emotional form of being. We are in that moment of the witness, witnessing the witnesser in real time, because every week we have the blessing of connecting as one family of #lineage holder and collectively remember more of ourself. And I'm enjoying very much the blessing that together we are each gaining greater clarity about our reason for being. And that reason for being has everything to do with our individual, our collective group think, the planetary thought body, the expansion outside of it. It's extraordinary. And so this is the gift of authenticity. It is the moment where we free ourselves to expand. And when another shares their story of their compassionate entry into the fifth dimension, of how they arrived into the moment of their full awareness, that's the essence of the Yoga of Self-Ascension. And I think that's why in many ways, I dedicate this show to Archangel Zadkiel, to the entire universe. And I bow before the divine directors and say, thank you for the inspiration, the words, and the recognition. And so I would enjoy that if you would offer your heart a moment right now, and let's get ready, right? What are we doing? Well, tonight we're going to discover for ourselves, and we're also going to discover together in real time, what is the pervading energy of this story? Why are you tuning into this show right now? Because this is where we all become amazed. Because as soul mirrors, we are amazed. It is an amazing opportunity to come together. And so this is that exquisite moment, my angels. It's where you are clear and where you are in the moment of divine reflection with another soul mirror. And that is the essential energy that's awakening on the planet right now. I do want to just take a moment and share with you a little bit about tonight's co-host. I am deeply, deeply in love with tonight's co-host. I have had the honor and the privilege to witness her as she has been truly navigating the ladder of expansion. I have witnessed her ups, I have witnessed her downs, I have held her hand and held her heart, and she has most certainly held mine. She is a true lineage holder, and her journey is one of true inspiration, and one that also also models what many of us have gone through, are going through, and may be encountering in the future. She is an extremely talented doula. She is passionate about women's issues. She has an incredible radio show at onenesstalkradio.com. The name of her show is Soul Fusion Cafe, and it premieres every Sunday. You must tune in. And so for this evening, we are all being blessed, and I want to welcome in now my beautiful co-host, Jess Juntenen. It is my pleasure. And, you know, Jess, I was just sharing before you came on, of course, you know, I just love to talk about how amazing you are. And one of the things I was sharing is that, you know, how many years have we known each other? I really don't know at this point. I know, right? It feels like forever.
7, but it's forever.
Yeah, no, I think 7, that feels about right. I was just, because you know me in linear time, it just doesn't happen. And the blessing, and I love that it's 7, don't you? I love that number. But I'm really just enjoying this moment right now, because as I connect with your radiance, as I connect with the who that you are now, the empowerment, the passion, the living the dream, the tenacity, the ability to really work through all those levels of consciousness, despite all of the things that might get hurled at us, I just need you to hear that my heart sings, and it is my joy and honor to welcome you as a co-host on Soul Mirrors. I'm amazed.
Aw, thank you so much. What a beautiful introduction, and welcome to the show. And yeah, it feels really amazing to be here. It's been a journey.
Yes, yeah. Well, let's dive into that. And first and foremost, I want to share with everyone, our call lines are not open this evening. I do apologize, but please remember, next week you can call in live. However, jump into the chat. Please get over to onenesstalkradio.com, and right there on the homepage, you'll see the chat. You also can be watching us live there. You can be watching us live at Oneness Talk Radio. And of course, we are delighted to be broadcasting from TFR Live, where you can listen in as well, plus all of the affiliates. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, Jess, you know, I really want to just jump in, especially since, you know, we just had this dive Tuesday night in the full moon, and we're in Thursday. So it's kind of like we're in that closing moment of the full moon. You know how you have that beautiful, like, 3 days before and 3 days after. And so here we are as lineage holders gathering together for the first time. And so I want to really begin with, when did your journey really begin? I mean, I get that our journey always begins long before this experience and long before the inception of birth into this planet. So maybe I need to be more specific. So when did, in this lifetime of your co-creative experience, when did you first have that awareness, let's just use that word, that you were on a greater journey than maybe the world would show you?
I think that really did start like 15 or 16 years ago, and I was living in Costa Rica and had my 2 very young sons. And that's for sure when a lot of synchronicities entered my life. I needed a lot of support, and I've always been, right, a lot of us are always been searching for some way to find God or universe, and I was always doing that. But that was when it really came home, I think, because so much was out of my control and falling apart, that the opening was there, and it was really amazing. It really, really was. And then I think really about 8 years ago was like another kind of like re-up moment.
Well, okay, 2 things you've just brought up that I think are really important. Number 1 is the re-up moment. We're going to get to that in just a moment, because that is a big one. That's a really big one. But I'm curious, so what brought you to Costa Rica? You're obviously from the States, right? You were born in the United States? Yep. Okay, so how'd you end up in Costa Rica?
A convenient way is to marry somebody that's from Costa Rica.
Well, that will do it. And was that how you got there?
It was. I was living in Colorado and around Denver and Summit County and those areas, and I met him there, and we got married. And then when I was pregnant, we moved to Costa Rica. We always had talked about it, but we moved under some really fast and kind of like at the time I was so young, I didn't really like realize what I was totally jumping into, but we jumped into that. So I found myself like being a jungle mama and having little babies in the rainforest. And it was amazing. I mean, unbelievable. Like I never would have had that experience if I wouldn't have been with him for that journey, you know, like I wouldn't have been way too scared to do it myself. So it was outstanding. It definitely shaped a lot of who I am.
Well, you know, I'm giggling because here we are so early in tonight's episode, and let me share, as you were sharing, what I was experiencing listening to you share was Archangel Zodkiel laughing and saying, "We will always keep you on a need to know basis." And you know, this is something that we have shared so many times, is that we are all loved so much that spirit, that our beloved energies around us will it seemingly keeps us on this need to know basis, so that we do say yes, you know. And so I smile when I hear you say, well, I was so young at the time that I really didn't know what I was jumping into, yet the eternal soul sure did and went, we're going, you know, get ready.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the reason I'm giggling is for what you said earlier in the show already, which was, had you not wound up in Costa Rica with those young children, that was your wake up moment. That was your first, you claimed that in the very beginning of the show. So what I'm seeing is that this show is very much for me, when I'm feeling into your energy right now, I see you as we identify those three energies that we all tend to swim in. It looks to, you're very unique in the fact that I see you as a bridge. I see you as a bridge between applied wisdom and strength. It's like that mama bear that has these young children and is out there in the rainforest being jungle mom, who has the strength, yet is wise enough to be able to apply it in ways that will keep co-creating. So when I share that with you, does that feel congruent?
It certainly does. And it puts it in a really beautiful light for me to think of it that way. And it's true. It's definitely true. I feel so.
So let's focus on that. So one of the things that I want to come back to that you're just sharing is, so here we are, you're in Costa Rica, and do you speak Spanish? ¿Habla español?
Más o menos.
Oh, está bien. Okay. All right. Well, this is an English-speaking show, and if I start speaking too much more Spanish, I'll actually betray how little I know. And yet I've lived in Latin America now for over 10 years, and my heart is so big because, how young were you, if I may ask, when you moved to Costa Rica?
Oh my gosh, I was 23. I was just about turning 24. Yes. Yeah.
So definitely old enough to be in your mind, right? Old enough to know better, but young enough to not know, you know, part of that wise woman journey. So when your awareness came in being in Costa Rica with the birth of these children. So number one, how far apart are your children? Are they?
They're 19 months apart. So I went like pregnant, breastfeeding, found out I was pregnant, baby. Like it was boom,
always
boom.
a fun announcement, especially when you're breastfeeding. It's like, yes, I'd like another.
That was a real surprise. Yes, it was a surprise.
Sure it was. I'm sure it was. And so walk us through what happened. There was, you gave us kind of the scenario, you gave us the background, but give us, if you can, the moment. What happened? What conspired to assist you in that moment that you said yes to? Because these conspiracies happen all throughout our lives. It's when we say yes that they start working or they start manifesting.
Absolutely. Well, I realized pretty early on, even before I was pregnant with the first son, that maybe I should leave this relationship. You know, I was looking for bus tickets home from Colorado when I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
Yes, and I came close to not having my first son. To be truthful, I was very close. I went to Planned Parenthood and actually walked out that day and decided to stay with his father. So that was like a big decision moment.
So that obviously, and this is your first child?
Yes.
So that obviously also speaks to the soul agreement as a lineage holder. So in your family, when you diagram your soul family lineage, as we were teaching in Tuesday night, that's when you're going to discover with this first child, the lineage holder energy. Powerful. Go ahead. I was just so fascinated.
I get soul tears just thinking about it. And
no, because it hits deep, right? This is not a mental thing. It hits here. Yeah.
Yep. I can feel it like in my whole body. And I've known that since the moment I had him. Once I was like, I'm in it and I'm in this pregnancy, like my whole life changed. I was definitely living in a very reactive space before that. And I was kind of like joked, I'm like, I would have ended up like, who knows, in a ditch in California or something. Cause I was just living in the moment very, very experientially. And I slowed way down with that. And I was so, yeah, the moment he was born, for sure, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And I was so invested, and I wanted that family so much. Right. So my ex-husband, he did offer all of this adventure and things. And here we are in Costa Rica, but the relationship was not healthy. It was not very good in a lot of respects. And I knew I had to leave it. Like, I always knew that was going to happen. And I would visit the States every summer, and I would pack all my paperwork that I wouldn't want to lose if I didn't go back. And the moment came, I was in a women's group while I was in Michigan, and this book showed up, Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, and somebody read a chapter out of it, right? And it struck me. It was just like, whoa, like, where, she was speaking truth to me. And I had no money. I had like no money. I went to the bookstore and looked at the book, and I was like,
I have been there.
Yeah, I didn't even have the $17 to buy it.
And free coffee.
Yeah, and then I went to a rummage sale like 2 days later, and it was like a donation only rummage sale. And there's the book sitting face up on the stack of books, looking at me, and I still have that book full of all my highlighters and notes and everything. I just started reading that, and I took that back to Costa Rica and going on that journey, and like really going into, she goes into like, healing the inner child and all of these belief patterns that create things within us. And I had no cable, no phone. So it was like me and my babies, and I had like that book and a couple DVDs in my life. And it really started changing. I found a woman that had like a yoga center and went to meditations, and I started having these profound meditative journeys at that point.
So what inside of you trusted that? Because I think a lot of people, I know myself, and I think it was because of the overlay from my birth mother, who kept telling me I was possessed and the devil, and then the nuns told me that and all of that. So there was in me, I have to admit, I had to walk through my own fear of, oh my God, is this of the highest or not? And I was obviously able to walk through that. But for me, it was a very long journey as well. And ironically, Jess, I'm smiling. It was the birth of my first daughter at 27 for me that I say saved my life. That I really feel that she came in to keep me on the planet so that this mission would unfold. And so my heart really understands what you're saying. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is, why did you trust it? Like, here you're having all these visions, you're having all these dreams. Obviously this had not been a pattern. And suddenly it's like, wow, yet what I'm experiencing from you, again, and this is why I keep going back to the wisdom, it's like you have such an ancient, wise soul animating you. And so how did that, I'm just curious, how did you trust it? How was that for you? I'm
reflecting on it. I feel like it just felt very easy when I started to experience it, because like you're saying, there's that wise soul that I'm still trying to accept that's there, that's really wise sometimes.
Honey, you're transforming in front of me. As I'm looking at you right now on the screen, and I bet a lot of you are seeing this too with Jess, I see this beautiful golden Buddha image. And it's this very serene, almost like a Kuan Yin, but very non-gender, very gender neutral, but soft and loving. So when you speak, that's what I see. Forgive me for interrupting, but it's so beautiful.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I feel the truth of that now too, and I can accept that. And I've always had like a lot of people share that with me when I'm working with them, like that my presence is extremely.
And it's gold. It's gold, 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 gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But felt really natural, like I was just sliding into what made sense. And it made such a difference immediately that I couldn't doubt it. I mean, everything was super crazy. I mean, I don't want to go into details, but you know it, like how crazy that time of my life was and that relationship was.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Times four. Because I'm like crazy.
No, I mean, thank you. Every time I reread Sacred Union, I read your section. I'm like, okay, like here I went through this. Like I can go through this and be okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was this like it was so bananas, like so it felt so good. I would just go into this drained out concrete pool in the backyard and just lay and do this meditation, and like it was just so clear. And then everything got so clear. I was like, well, I'll know I'm going to leave him when the time comes. Like I'll just like know it. And I'm not even worried. And I was like actually probably the happiest time of my life in some ways. It was like I still am like, oh, I could just still feel that. It was so amazing. And when the moment came, I was like, it was a really, really awful day in some ways, but it was like, boom, I was so ready. Like 3
So what
days
happened?
later,
When did
oh boy, the truth was revealed.
Yeah, well, well, yes, and boy, because I know there are a lot of people listening right now. There are a lot of people who, whenever you're connecting with the show, you're in a Jess moment. I know you are. I can feel you. It's like I feel them holding their breath. So, and this is what's so funny, Jess, is this is why I said you were so unique. So, while I see the overarching energy of your lineage holder presence as that applied wisdom and strength bridge, there's also so much courage. So what it tells me is that you did a lot of this in your life, a lot of cycling, a lot of revisioning. And I know right now there is somebody listening, there's somebody watching this show that says, Jess, give me the courage. How did you do it? So Jess, what would you say to that person who's right where you were in that moment? Because I know what it was like when I was in that moment, and I would have given anything for these words of wisdom. So what would you share?
Oh, I could cry. You are so important. You're so special. And you're so much stronger than you think. You can go through anything. You will get the support you need. Just be open to it and just really trust you're going to be okay. Really. And in the end, you will look back at this and realize that it was part of what makes you who you are and part of what gets you to where you're ultimately going. And you'll be absolutely okay. And you have so many of us like holding you, whether or not you even know it sometimes. We are.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jess, for sticking out your foot and saying yes. Because see, that's the moment. You had all that awakening and all that awareness ahead of time. And this is where our cycles complete themselves and we can start fresh and start anew. Is at some point we have to navigate strength. We have to have the applied wisdom, and then we have to move into that courage. And what you did and the steps that you took as a lineage holder are exactly what bring us to that moment. And so thank you so much for doing that. I really honor you. So let's have some more fun. All right, so as we're moving forward and we're sharing about this, let's enter in. You said 8 years ago, so now we're going to scroll ahead to 8 years ago. What happened 8 years ago?
Oh, that was like another beautiful point where, it seems like these moments often fall on the heels of things falling away, right?
Yes.
So we have to go through this sort of
Cycles.
cleansing. Yep, I was back in the States and I had been for a time, and I went to graduate school with little kids. Again, like no idea like what I was getting into.
What are you majoring in?
Rhetoric and technical communication. Yeah, and I was teaching it. I was learning to be a teacher at the same time as learning to be a high-level academic in a beautiful program, but it was extremely challenging with like a 4 and 5-year-old. I think they were at that point.
I get it.
Yeah. And then I finished that program, and the moment came was I had this interview for a perfect job in my area, in my field. I wouldn't have to move away. I would have the money to buy the house that I wanted to have for me and my kids. It looked like that all looked really good. I kind of didn't really care what the means of the job was, but I know I would have been miserable at this job, and I didn't get it, right? So I went through this process, and I was runner up essentially, and I lost out to my office mate actually. And I felt like it was for sure a gendered decision because this department had issues with yep, they had some bad backstory. It would have been a really toxic place for me to work and miserable. So he got the position and I did not. And my ego was like,
so that's where I want to
throat.
stop. Right. I want to jump in right now because I'm listening to your lineage holder self talking about not getting the job. But I want to go to that moment. And that's where you were just saying about your ego. In that very moment, what happened? I mean, you must have had a third, right?
Yeah, I was so 3D. I was like super mad. Even like he was the nicest guy, but I was angry at him. I was angry at everything. I had a recognition that I was protected. Like I knew it because I had my grandmother called in, but I was still spitting mad. I was upset. And then I was working part-time and it was good work. It was like I had like a nice cushy position, but I hate working in offices. I actually just really hate working in offices, but that's what I was doing. And then of course everything was like just exploding because I wasn't in school. I wasn't super busy. From the time I moved back from Costa Rica to finishing school and everything, like I hadn't had time to even really probably process completely my whole life probably. And I was waking up paralyzed, anxiety, just to the extreme, like for hours,
How long did that last? Was this months? Was this years?
It was more like a month or two, and it was so uncomfortable. And that's when enter our beloved Patty Peterson.
Who will be on this show. She is coming up. I forget what date, but she will be a co-host coming up in a few weeks.
She will. And it was one of those where like I had seen her around and she has that glow, and somebody gave me her number, whatever, and I ended up in her office. And it was within like 6 weeks of working with her that I was already like off to doula training, and I think starting to take training with you guys. And it was just like explosion. Like that was just crazy. It was so fast. And it was just like everything came online, like boom, and I was just trying to adjust to the fact that I was, I mean, I feel for some of the people in my life, like my partner at that time and stuff, because I was just like, this is everything, yeah. And I was super excited about this journey of soul growth, and everything was waking up so fast.
So how did you balance that in your kids? How did you make it through? That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to handle. You're essentially a single mom. You have these children, you're waking up. I mean, I know I've been there, and that was exactly my story, was the single mom, and everything's exploding and everything's falling away while things are coming together. How did you navigate? What got you through? What was your moment that got you through? How did you find yourself moving through? And I'm gonna put the caveat in between those probably many moments where you were like, I'm never gonna make it through, because I know I had plenty of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I still have those moments.
Yes, we do. Actually, being a master is a sign of knowing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, we've got like 4 more years of teenagerhood, and yeah, I'm still single. It
never stops, Jess. My oldest daughter just turned 31. It never stops.
No, I know. I'm turning 40, and my dad's still like.
Exactly.
Dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that moment. Oh boy, it was just how did I navigate through that and do that? Again, I think it's just that I have this sense in me that when I am going for something, it's focus. It's just like, this is the only, I mean, I know there's other paths within this way, but this is like the way. It feels so right that there's no questioning it, like that I have to keep going, because it feels so not good any other way. Sometimes I try to go back.
That's the other side. Okay, so that's the other side. So that's I think that's a really important thing to stop and talk about is, so how did you get to that other side? I will share that I know in my own experience, I think I played hokey pokey more than anybody. I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out for a long time, I mean, so much so that the universe killed me not once, but twice, because I was just so darn stubborn. and really, really resistant. And so the one thing that I know I learned was that the more that we resist, the harder it is. We just make it harder on ourselves. That what seems to be, or at least in my experience, what seemed to be the greatest challenge, which was just saying yes, the minute you do that, it got easier. You know, and it wasn't, in my experience, it wasn't that everything stopped. It was that I had lifted. I was in that fifth dimensional, and that's what the show is about, talking about what are those moments when we have broken out of the third dimensional witness and we have really lifted up into being the witnesser, into being in that fifth dimensional compassionate space. Because in order to fully anchor that, it also demands breaking free of a lot of our paradigms and belief systems, even after we've so-called awakened. You know, it's fascinating to me that we tend to take our linear self up with us, especially in those early layers of spiritual activism. And then we cling, right? We cling because, wait a minute, that's what got me here. Because we're still in this lower form of awareness. And it's not that it's bad. The fact that we're there at all is phenomenal. But we're in this form of awareness whereby we are still clinging to older belief systems without recognizing that if we just keep saying yes, 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 we expand even beyond that. And so as you expanded, and I know over these past 7 years, like I said, I've been very honored to witness your journey. How have you gone past the mind of form that would seek to rob or steal the journey? And as I share that, I want to add the caveat that we all have moments where we think we've backtracked. And yet when we come through those moments, what we see is that they were the final learning we had not yet quite developed. Does that make sense? Or at least that was my experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now, because of having done that we do that several times, now it's like I can say, no, it's not really a backtrack. It's fine. There's like it's really nice at this stage, I have to say. When I reflect.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I still get a little, in that linear 3D headspace, but it's so much easier to pop back up and out into that fifth dimension and beyond. And I have to say, I have just loved that we are lifting even higher into the seventh and the ninth here, because it feels super right that we are lifting up and holding even this larger space around that fifth dimension and that compassion. But this ascended awareness is bringing us stability that I don't think I've ever really had till now, really. I mean, it's nice.
It is nice, isn't it? Because what it comes to, and I really enjoy that we're together during this moment where this big trust anchoring is coming in, and where, we're so close to this August Kali Yuga raising her head, which I'll be talking about on the August predictions. But as we prepare for that, one of the things that I enjoy as I'm conversing with you is that when we meet each other here, as lineage holders that are not afraid to admit that we are, right? It doesn't matter what the language is. It's about a presence. It's about an energy that says, I am wearing the confidence and the trust of the universe. This has nothing to do with me. It's simply a robe I have put on, and it fits really good. It was tailored by the best tailor in the world and the universe, and I feel good wearing it. And so that's the way that I know for me, I began to try on my mastery. And I think that a lot of us try on our mastery initially as a robe or a cape, and in whatever form. It could even be in physical form, right? Or we put on our first crown, or we wear our first headpiece, and we become aware of the greater presence without attaching our ego to the greater presence. And that is the moment where we begin to lift through the fourth dimension and arrive into, I really call it the embrace, and I love watching your arms go out, and arrive in the embrace of the fifth dimension. Archangel Zadkiel, when she started talking to Sri and I about the fifth dimension, the experience was a waiting room. It was, you arrive at the fifth dimension, basically in a waiting room where you are recuperating from the journey, where you are learning to love yourself again, where you are learning to have mercy for and really witness all of that and arrive at that space. So every individual will arrive at this space. Now, imagine arriving there and that work's already done. Check that out. So you're arriving there going, yay, thank you. I am so happy to be here. And instead of having to just sit there and recuperate, you're like, let's go, right? And that's what we're doing as awakened lineage holders. We're saying, let's go, because the fifth dimension is filled with so many people that waiting room is no longer comfortable. That waiting room, there's nothing worse than showing up at a doctor's waiting room and going, oh my God, I'm number 100. It's like the worst. And so that's what's happening, right? To use a metaphor, right? That we have so many beings arriving in the fifth dimension that those of us that have been holding that compassion need help. And that's why we were activated. That's why we are here now. That's why all those years ago in Costa Rica, the universe already knew that you would have to be fully awake and ready to rock at this moment. And every other being that's connecting with this show is having the exact same experience, whether you consciously believe it or not. And just as I share all of this, how does this resonate with you? What are you experiencing?
Oh, it just resonates like there's this deep energy. It's like a gratitude. It's a grace. It's peace. It's a relief and a celebration. It just feels like grounded and anchored and so good. I can't say how grateful I am to be here at this moment and everything that is unfolding, this rise of the lineage holders. I mean, it's no surprise that I started talking about that and thinking about that. I think in a few shows before, you guys started bringing it up and I'm like, yes, right? Like totally on the stage. I love that. Yeah, those synchronicities.
So I love that.
And I keep getting more of those, right? Those those synchronicities, confirmations and affirmations right now are so big. And it's like, okay, here's this moment that like, yes, I was born for. Like that feeling has come through so many times and it's so strong now. Like there's a certainty to it. Like sometimes sure doubt wants to show up, but that's really just little remnants of like ego stuff. It feels so
and
much
you know
more
that.
just like,
Right?
yes.
So when the doubt shows up, so let me ask you this question, not to interrupt you, but I know a lot of people are going through this. So where are you at now? If you were to lift again, right? So now we're in that beautiful seventh dimensional, just pure non-judgment recognition of the appropriateness of every experience. So when you're in that, gazing at that, how quickly do you move through those doubt moments?
It's pretty fast. It can be like instantaneous, really. And sometimes it might take, like a walk in the woods or something, and it might take a few hours, but calling up somebody for support that can remind you, that's like a big one too. Just calling in your support things and team and using that, and you can lift really fast these days through those moments, and just be like, okay, there was just, another opportunity and another piece of me that needs some love and attention, and give that to that part of ourselves.
Right.
Because I think it's so important right now that even some of the shows I've been talking about is that we really embody and get into our body too. Like we don't want to just float off into the seventh and ninth. We want to be anchored here. And
it's mandatory. You must be. And thank you. And again, everybody, check out Soul Fusion Cafe. I know it's one of my favorite shows at onenesstalkradio.com. And Jess, are you going live these days, or are you still on chat?
I do a podcast and I'm on chat, but yeah, I do hope to go live with the show in the future. Yes.
We want you to. So remind everybody, what time does your new show premiere every week?
It's on Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific time at Oneness Talk Radio.
Yeah, so Sundays, 4 p.m. Pacific time, and definitely check that out. And just the reason I'm so excited about what you're sharing and want people to really check out your show is because, yes, see, the whole reason we can do what we're doing is the full embodiment of the Yoga of Self-Ascension. And the Yoga of Self-Ascension is predicated upon what? It's predicated upon the stability of the chakra system outside of density. That's what evasive balancing is. It's about lifting and learning through the evasive breath, how to lift our chakras into the self-ascended state, thereby doing what? What you just mentioned. Opening the ascended heart, because the ascended heart is the root center of this multidimensional experience. And if your physical body is not happy, and if those first, second, and third chakras are not stable, you cannot hold open the portal. It's just a fact. And this is where I think a lot of people get confused, is that we can, even though we might not have known about it, we absolutely can have this form and learn how to navigate multidimensional space. And that is not fiction. That is not some esoteric bullshit thing. That is reality. And you're modeling that. And this is what this show is about, is modeling. And because sometimes we deny ourselves. You know, I know that I was in the fifth dimension a lot longer than I thought I was, because this mind kept trying to hold me back. Because if this is not stable, right? You're not going to have the clarity to be able to handle the multidimensional navigation. This is where a lot of people get stuck. This is where a lot of people go back. This is where you can be messed with. This is where you can be interfered with. And so I'm just, again, celebrating you, because it's a journey. You know, it's a journey to get there. It really is. And so forgive me, but I love where you were going about what you're teaching. So please continue.
No, yeah, that is all. I love listening to you share, and it's so important. And like, that has really come through to me in what I'm supporting clients with and working with women. I'm so called to work with women because there's this huge need. I think a lot of times on our spiritual journey, and I've done it too, I think it's natural. We get so obsessed almost with the multidimensional, you know, it's cool. You're like, wow, this is amazing, you know, and it starts to get easy to like not pay as much attention to the worldly aspects of our body, of, and our environment and what we're doing with ourselves in our day to day. And it's a common trap. I think almost everybody probably has to walk through that.
Oh, I know we do, because until we walk through it, we don't even understand. This goes back to what the divine directors were saying about not knowing the trap. And forgive me, my parrot just had a bad landing, so I'm just making sure he's okay. And he is. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it is. It's really, I don't know, it's exciting. I think it's just a really exciting time to be here right now on the planet. And I know for all of the lineage holders and everyone listening, you know, it's like we came to take birth for this moment right now. It's here. And there might be a lot of things that we still don't know that aren't 100% clear in our personal journey. I know mine's not, but again, that as need to know basis, and to have that tenacity and commitment and just keep walking forward, because it's unfolding, and I trust that like 100%. It's gotten me this far, and I know it's.
Well, Jess, I want to jump into, not only has it gotten you this far, but I want to go back to something you mentioned in the first half of the show, which is I asked what you were getting your master's degree in, and you talked about having the opportunity for the quote perfect job that would have been this, this, and this, and instead the universe said, no, we have other plans, right? Well, those other plans are that you are one of the most talented, extraordinary healers I've ever met. You have incredible capacity to create miracles for people. And so I really want to chat about that, because so many people say, well, you know, how I was trained to be this, how can I be this? Well, the reality is that training was part of the illusion just to help you get back to who you are now. And so I'd like to chat about, how have you resolved, like, I only see Jess the doula, I only see Jess the healer, because it's so you. So for me, when I experience seeing you, I look at your master's degree as training for perhaps how to mythologize things, or how to bring things together and keep organization and be even better at what you do, but it was never you. And so I just want to talk about, how did you resolve that? You know, you were over here, Miss Brain, and now you're over here, Miss Healer, and then you've done the beauty of putting that together, a brainy healer. We love that.
Yeah, it can be tricky because I tell people, other people that are really intelligent, you have a lot of things that it's beautiful to be intelligent, but it can also invent all these other ways to get yourself snared up.
It's a huge trap. The mind is a trap. Maybe you need to come back next month and we'll just talk about that.
Yeah, the mind is a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, integrating the two, it felt like so much remembrance came back when I started to really dive into like that spiritual soulful realm, that I was remembering being a child and talking with trees and nature. I was remembering, how much I knew, and then like how much I shut it all down, right? As we do when we don't get seen or people don't realize it around us, especially when you're like a really empathic, intuitive child and your family's really asleep, right? So I was remembering, yeah, right. You're like remembering all of that. And like, that was like huge. So I think once the remembrance started, I mean, yes, there was the dance back and forth, but it was just too juicy and rich, to turn it back off. I've tried to turn it off a few times, but it's too big, and it felt so right. I remember like even sitting, with my coach and counselor and seeing her work with me. And I had this flash of myself working with other people. I'm like, who are you, crazy, Jess? Like, you're going to work with people, like, I mean, I think it was like a year later I was, and it's just that it just felt right. It just feels right when it feels right. It was amazing from that first experience doing the doula training to the first experience I think I did navigating the inner matrix, was maybe the first thing I did. It was like,
that was a good choice.
And that program, I mean, talk about integrating those lower 3 chakras and being able to lift off, it was just, I think just really, it was time, I don't know if there's like a good answer for how all that happened. It was really just time.
Well,
and it
let me
felt,
ask you a question. How did you move from I'm going to be working with people to I'm working with people? How did you move there?
Through a lot of fear, for sure, and a lot of my mind telling me, who do you think you are, and all of this.
Life scripts.
Totally. And that I can remember my first client that came in, and of course it's going to be the perfect person when you start working, and she was definitely a soul spirit family that came in. And I think really having her and those other first people was huge. I had a good support system, I have to say. Like, that was part of it too. I had enough people that would say that I had these gifts, or they had good feedback or good experiences, or believed, that I could do it. I think it was like a combination of those things. I just know I couldn't. Also, there was the moment where I was like, I can't handle working. I've tried so many other different work environments. I can't stand it. It's like my soul feels literally kind of like it's dying inside a little bit, and that's so uncomfortable. And then I had the experience of doing some of the spiritual work even as soon as I started practicing with people. It was so much more rewarding and just felt right. It really felt right. But it really took until probably this last year to be like, okay, here I am. This is what I really do.
But you didn't give up. And this is where I want to jump in, as we have a whopping 5 minutes left of this show. How did that happen? And so the reason I want to jump in here is, Jess, as I mentioned earlier, one of the gifts of Soul Mirrors, be amazed, because I know your story is amazing me, is that when we come together every week, the goal of each show is to look at the energy and how we are moving through that energy, and to gain from our dialogue. And again, our phone lines will be open again next week, but I hope you've been in the chat with Jess during this whole show over at onenesstalkradio.com. I really feel that you have been modeling during this entire show something very unique. And I love that in the second episode of the show, we already have this come up, which is you've been modeling how to navigate the whole cycle. And this is because you really are at that moment of wisdom-filled mastery, this lineage holder ignition. Because everything you're talking about, when I see it, I don't see it as a linear strength, applied wisdom, courage. I see it as that strength as a complete energy. I see the applied wisdom as a complete energy. I see the courage as a complete energy. And what I'm seeing is that your unique role has been learning how to weave those together and keep the whole thing rolling. That's a big mission, and I honor you, honey. That's a lot. And so of course you're birthing life on every single level. You are that creation. And I just want to say that if you had 2 minutes to share anything with everyone who's listening, I know I'm already amazed, but share, what would you want them to hear? As a lineage holder themselves, as one who's awakening, as one who's finding that which is before us, what would you want them to hear?
That every single thing that has happened in this lifetime and even before really truly has paved the way and led to right now, and that you truly do have so many unique gifts. Some of them you probably already know and are aware of. If you're feeling the sense that you have some that you haven't completely opened up to explore, now is the time. This is your green card. Go and do it. Really do what brings you joy and makes your heart feel good. What makes you feel connected and good, and do more of that. Like, keep that going. And whenever you get tired or have doubt or fear, just allow yourself to. Maybe it's say a prayer, maybe it's just lay down, let yourself cry, let yourself feel whatever you're feeling, and really honor yourself. And you'll find that you're going to pick right back up and you're going to keep going. It's like your success is guaranteed, like 100%. You're here and you said yes, like you're doing it. You're doing it perfectly. And there's nothing else you really need to do. You don't need to change yourself or anything. You just need to be more you.
Well, I love that. And thank you. And Jess, I do want to just honor that what you are absolutely modeling in this moment, and I just enjoy witnessing myself, is that when we do that steadfast commitment with focused awareness and absolute complete trust, the framework of support ignites. And that's what you've been modeling. You have been modeling the framework of support. And from Jess and myself, may this show offer you that framework of support as well. That is the intention of this show. And if you have anyone you would like to suggest as a co-host for me, please send me an email to guest@sriandkiraradio.com. I've already been receiving emails. Thank you. We are booking up right now. Our first opening for a co-host will be in, I think, October. So let me know, who would you like to see on this show modeling? And remember that being on this show does not mean you have to be somebody we all know or do not know. It's about owning the lineage holder experience and how that is experiencing with you. And Jess, as we are coming to a close today, how can people find out more? I know there's a lot of people out there going, I want to talk to Jess. I want to connect more with Jess. How do they connect with Jess?
I would love to connect with you. Find me at selfascensionstudios.com. That's my website. You can email me at jess@selfascensionstudios.com. You can find me at Instagram, Joy Love Jess, or Soul Fusion Cafe Radio. And I have a Facebook page for Self-Ascension Studios as well as Soul Fusion Cafe Radio.
Awesome. Well, I know Soul Fusion Cafe Radio is definitely worth checking out, and I'm hopeful that everyone here will, because it's a phenomenal show, and it's a great way to do a Sunday, right? Join Sri and I at noon Pacific. Go have some lunch, go have some fun, go take that walk, and then jump in for Jess. I love it. I think it's a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Well, my love, thank you. And to all of you out there, I know I am amazed. May you remember that you are amazing. Jess, thank you for being here. And to all of you.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. And to all of you, we look forward to seeing you again right here on Soul Mirrors. Be amazed, Thursday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
Feel our appreciation for your presence with us, and may you amaze yourself every week. And be sure to join us each Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Learn more about Kira Raa at sriandkira.com or visit the YouTube channel Official Sri and Kira. May your heart know the master you are.